There's a phenomenon psychologists call hypervigilance, when the nervous system keeps scanning for danger even in complete safety. Not always consciously, sometimes the body simply reacts as if your story isn't over yet. And if in part one we got to know your nervous system, the inner guard who still follows old instructions, today I want us to look honestly at the price it pays for this job. Not just in the mind, in your body, your fatigue, your relationships, how you work, and how you move through everyday life. In neurobiology, there's a term that almost sounds like a diagnosis for modern living: allostatic load, the price the body pays for chronic stress and constant adaptation. When our internal alarm system, the one we talked about in part one, keeps activating without fully returning to baseline, the body begins to reorganize itself. Hormones shift, the cardiovascular system operates in standby mode, the immune system alternates between overactivation and exhaustion, and brain regions responsible for memory and emotion don't remain untouched either. In simpler language, you're relatively young, yet you feel as if you've been running on 3 sleepless nights. That's physiology worn out from standing guard forever. What we called hypervigilance in the first part, research describes as a hypersensitive threat detection system. Even in objectively safe environments, some people experience the amygdala reacting to neutral stimuli as if they're dangerous, the sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, activating faster and stronger than necessary, chronically elevated arousal levels. It feels like I never fully exhale. Imagine sitting in a cafe. For some, this is background noise, a cup, a voice, music. For a hyper-alert nervous system, dozens of microsignals, a laugh, a message sound, a sharp tone from the barista. The body makes tiny jumps, breathing becomes irregular, muscles tighten, and you end up explaining it as, maybe I'm just too sensitive. But in reality, it's the nervous system of someone who learns to live as if danger could enter from anywhere, at any moment. And then the thoughts join the body's reaction. There's a concept in psychology: anxious thoughts aren't about liking to suffer, they often function as a preemptive buffer. If I imagine every possible bad outcome, maybe nothing will surprise me. So the circle closes. The body is already tense because the radar detects everything, the mind starts the carousel of what if, and the nervous system receives confirmation. Danger must be real if we're thinking this much about it. You blame yourself for overthinking, but in reality it's a handmade defense mechanism, a safety cushion filled with thorns. And here's the uncomfortable part. When the body spends years without a sense of basic safety, it affects not only health, but relationships. With long-term unsafe experience, often similar to complex trauma, your sense of self changes. Something's wrong with me becomes default. Emotions either overwhelm or go numb, and trusting others can feel almost as threatening as trusting no one at all. So it's not that you can't relax on the couch, you can't relax even next to someone who's doing absolutely nothing wrong. The body remembers that the deepest wounds once came from people you were close to, so closeness becomes risk. Distance feels safer, yet loneliness is suffocating. And if in part one we started with tiny steps, 1 point of grounding, 30 seconds of presence, gentle body scanning, now we need to add another truth. Your body isn't sabotaging you. It's simply spent too many years choosing between stress that's survivable and danger that's not. So naturally, it chose survival. And when we talk about healing, we're talking not only about techniques, but about somatic work, to let the system discover what standing down even feels like, addressing cognitive distortions to notice and shift anxious narratives, safe relationships, learning who feels unsafe and who actually is safe, and where your body occasionally allows a real exhale, lowering overall load, sleep, rhythm, nourishment. Not magic, simply the conditions in which the system can even attempt recalibration. Sometimes I think each of us has 2 cities, the one we live in, work, relationships, plans, and the invisible city of the nervous system, its alarms, rules, night patrols. In Part 1, we just entered that invisible city. In Part 2, we looked at its infrastructure, allostatic load, hypervigilance, anxious thoughts pretending to be control. If you feel even slightly less ashamed of your reactions right now, this work is already meaningful. So here's what I suggest. Go back to the practices from Part 1 and try them this week. Tell me in the comments what became clearer, your body, your thoughts, or your relationships. And if you want, follow this series as we slowly build a life that feels safe enough, both outside and inside. For now, take care of your nervous system and take care of yourself.